John Riggins Show on Masson and WTOP 103.5 HD3 and worldwide at Riggo44.com.
We welcome you. This is the John Riggins Show. Thank you for tuning us in today. I am John Riggins. Kevin Stanfield, Lou Holder, Tod Castleberry with us. The usual suspects here on the John Riggins Show, and we are now joined by NFL salary cap analyst J.I. Halsell. J.I., welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You have been a busy guy today, huh?
I have.
I can see why.
I wonder why.
Well, we all know that there was a contract extension that was signed yesterday by one Donovan McNabb. I'll say the word so you don't have to, or the player's name. But it was reported originally that it was a $78 million deal, $40 million guaranteed, and with incentives it could be as high as $88 million. Now, then during the broadcast last night, Mike Tirico downplayed that and said basically it was more like $10 million guaranteed. I think you've got a pretty good idea of exactly what they did, so why don't you go ahead and tell us how this all breaks down. I've seen some of the things you've written, and I got a basic understanding of it, but go ahead and tell us really what's going on with this contract.
The true guarantee at the time of signing yesterday is $3.5 million, which is a far cry from $40 million. The reason why it was reported as $40 million is because often it's not distinguished between what is guaranteed for skill versus what is guaranteed for injury. And the vast majority of NFL player contracts are terminated for skill, meaning the player's deficient, we don't want you anymore, you're a bum. Now, so in the case of Donovan McNabb's deal, $3.5 million is guaranteed when he signed it. The other close to $35 million of guarantee is only for injury. And so now,
but the team pays for that insurance injury, or I mean the premium on the insurance.
It's not even really an insurance policy.
They actually pay it themselves.
Yeah, they actually pay out the money. They're still required to pay the money out if he suffers a catastrophic
But to back it up, so you're saying the 3.5, he got that by stroking yesterday.
Exactly.
So that's the only guarantee.
Right.
On top of, I think his number this year is 11 or.
Well, he made $5 million in salary. He was slated to make $5 million in salary this year.
And then a
$6 million roster bonus.
Right.
All right, so that on top. But all right, so and then everything else that's been reported is going to be based on.
He's got to be on the team
next year.
Right. Well, if they cut him after 2010 because they say, look, you're not a good fit, we drafted a quarterback in the draft, then he walks away with $3.5 million in new money. Now, the thing about his contract in 2011 is he actually has an option bonus that the team has the ability to exercise up until the first game of the 2011 regular season. And that option bonus is for $10 million. So what that means is, in theory, they could go out and here get a quarterback, whether it be in free agency or via the draft, have Donovan McNabb still be on the roster, get all the way through training camp, and decide that, you know what, this other guy is ready to take the reins, and they can terminate his contract for skill, and all he gets is $3.5 million and not $35 million.
Okay, now my question would be, if in fact Donovan McNabb against the Tennessee Titans suffers a career-ending injury, then how?
Then he has his $3.5 that he got yesterday, and he gets the $35 million. It would be paid out in future
so in other words, that all comes back to him.
Yeah, and given this offensive line, it's not far-fetched to think that it could happen.
Go ahead.
So why do anything now?
Yeah, because it's apparent that the organization did not feel comfortable committing to Donovan with a multi-year, long-term extension. And so what this deal tells you is that the organization was comfortable with potentially signing him to a one-year deal, whether that be just a one-year deal or a one-year franchise tag deal. The franchise tag for the 2011 season is going to be roughly $16 million, which is why you see this deal is, $3.5 million of new money in 2010 and $13 million between the option bonus and the $3 million that he can make over the course of the season equals out to $16 million, which is the franchise tag in 2011. So essentially what they did was they gave him a $3.5 million advance on the franchise tag of 2011 because he'll get $3.5 now, he'll get $13 million in 2011. And the upside for Donovan in this scenario is, okay, if they decide to release him after 2010, well, he got $3.5 million that he would have potentially have gotten in 2011 without even being on the team.
What will his salary for 2011? What will that be?
It's a combination of salary and per game roster bonuses that total up to $3 million. But
that $10 million, that's separate and apart as bonus.
That's an option bonus, right? That would be paid out in some form of lump sum.
Now, based on everything you've said so far, J.I., what would be, McNabb's incentive to sign this deal? Because clearly this isn't the contract that that I think most people initially believed what had been done. That it was a $40 million guarantee that everybody thinks of when you hear guaranteed money. That's against skill. You don't even. I don't think anybody, at least I don't think that all of a sudden this includes that's just strictly an injury guarantee.
Right.
And you get into some of the contract with the New York Jets. I don't, where they wouldn't give you the what do you call it, injury guarantee.
They made you pick one or the other, like DeBrickashaw had to pick one or the other.
And isn't that what Rivas got?
Yeah, and so they make and it's because of, people have asked me today, what's the uncapped year or the CBA or labor, looming lockout have to do with this deal? And it really, from a 2011 perspective, doesn't have anything to do with it, but because we're in the uncapped year, there are a lot of new rules that teams have to be compliant with in order in structuring these deals, and it's why you've seen the unique structures of a DeBrickashaw Ferguson, and even here with Donovan, Nick Mangold, Donovan McNabb, where you can't guarantee the money for both skill and injury, otherwise you'll not be compliant with one of the rules of the uncapped year.
Oh, so if it was in the old days, would that all be part and parcel of the same contract? So that money would be guaranteed?
It would be truly guaranteed for the $40 million.
Hainsworth, for an example.
He did the deal at the right time.
So he got his guarantee was for 41 or 42 million.
His money
whatever
is
they
truly guaranteed. And I actually had a side conversation with Fletcher Smith last night and asked him about why he structured the deal the way he did, and and he said that this is not, a deal that the type of structure he's done before, but it's the environment that we currently have to negotiate contracts in. It's obviously not an ideal environment from an agent or player perspective, but that's another way in which the uncapped year hasn't quite been the windfall for players that he thought it was going to be.
J.I. Halsell, NFL salary cap analyst, joining us here on the John Riggins Show. J.I., then, you get back to, and I think I started to ask a question, maybe you already answered it, but, as far as McNabb, why does this deal look good to him? Why not just go ahead and play this out, become a free agent, and talk to Arizona? They seem to need a quarterback. Talk to Minnesota. The guy that used to be his offensive coordinator, I talked to Minnesota, Brad Childress.
That's gone.
I just realized that. Well, you got Arizona, and you live out there. You got a house out there. To me, this isn't the sweetheart deal that I originally thought that it was. It doesn't sound to me like it anyway.
Because if you're Donovan McNabb and you don't see a long-term future in Washington and your hope is to become a free agent, well, just as you hit the free agent market, the Washington Redskins intervene and franchise tag you and prevent you from hitting the market, and then you're going to get $16 million over the course of 17 weeks of a 2011 season. By doing this deal today, you at least get 3.5 of that right now, and there's still a chance that maybe you become a free agent. But simply put, Donovan and Fletcher didn't really have much leverage in this situation because the Washington Redskins controlled all the cards. They controlled whether or not he became a free agent. They controlled whether or not they wanted to do a multi-year lucrative extension with him, and clearly they did not. And so the best situation or best deal that Donovan could get was getting this 3.5 now.
So another part of this from McNabb's thinking is that if there is a lockout in 2011 and I don't sign this deal, then basically I get nothing for 2011 if that season were to come and go.
Well, I think that the potential of a lockout really isn't as much of an impact or has as much of an impact on Donovan because he's got money, and so. No,
but my point is that he would actually miss out on a year of getting some kind of pay. That if you don't do this now.
Well, and you got 3.5 right now. Yeah.
You got a bird in the hand right here.
Yeah, and 3.5 is a lot to me, but for 3.5 relative to what he is as a franchise quarterback, or at least a serviceable NFL quarterback, it's not a ton of money, but it's better than nothing, and it's better than earning it over 17 weeks of a season.
Well, it's money he can take off the table now, though.
Right.
And if there is a lockout and he didn't do it, then
he'd have to wait.
If he could recoup the 3.5, is what?
Right.
I think we're saying the same thing.
You
said he would make up for it if there is a lockout.
They could franchise him, or they would cut him, and then he would be a free agent and make his own deal in 2011.
Right.
But if there's a lockout, and I see what you're saying, if there's a lockout, nobody's getting anything. So if you don't cut your deals now,
right, it's money now.
And he's in one of those rare positions where he could do a deal now.
The only upside or area of negotiation in this deal is, Fletcher maybe could have gotten more than $3.5 million. Maybe he could have gotten 5 or 7. Of the $16 million that we're trying to get to over this next new year. So,
well, when going back to this then with the team and how they're looking at this, to them, they've got all the options here, basically.
Absolutely, yeah.
So this was actually, in a way, because this isn't, of course, this isn't the way I understood it, but not that it's. They have the right to say, well, it's been fun. You get your $3.5 million, and we'll see you later because we found what we wanted next year's draft.
Absolutely.
Now, do you believe then somebody like McNabb himself? Based on what you said, I mean, the reality of this isn't the sweetheart deal, I don't think, that he thought he was getting when he came here from Philadelphia.
Not at all.
Would he be disappointed? Is he disappointed in this deal?
I don't know if he's disappointed in the deal. You know, yeah, he's $3.5 million richer, and there is still.
But he clearly had visions of sugar plums dancing in his head when he came here.
Yeah, and he still has the remote possibility of making more money down the road. Now, here's the thing about this deal. Come 2012, he has guarantees that vest for skill, that basically become guaranteed against skill. He won't be a Washington Redskin in 2012 because it's a pretty substantial amount of money that will then become guaranteed for skill, meaning the club would then be on the hook for the
How
money.
much would that money be? Do you know off the top of your head?
I know in 2012 it's $11.5 million, and at that point in time, he'll be, 36 years old or so, and really, I don't know, unless he has a resurgence of his career, over the tail end of the season and into 2011, if he'll be worth that type of money such that the team would be willing to guarantee that type of money to him.
But, of course, then at that point in time, they can also restructure a deal as well,
They
correct?
could restructure the deal, yeah.
If he's willing to stay, let's say that they like him because he's, a good community guy, fights his guts out. But basically, I'm being a little bit of a jerk there, but the point I'm trying to make is that they could sign him to a lower amount and he could basically, be the chaperone for the new guy.
Right. And I think the
team really has the team really controls everything in this situation.
Absolutely.
And you're saying, J.I., the franchise number, and for those, so the franchise is the average top five?
Top five.
Top five paid at their position, and that number basically now, based on the recent deals that have been done, is around 16?
Projected around to be about $16 million.
I'm trying to figure now if you're Mike Shanahan, and I don't know what how much his involvement was a part of this. In other words, was he, because it's all coming at a strange time. Perhaps all this started before the Detroit game was played. It was. You said for the last 5 months, I guess. I mean, you're the one that reported originally, way back in, what was it, April, that it wasn't necessarily Shanahan or Bruce Allen who was the guy that was behind the trade to bring McNabb down here. Are you still
saying?
Do you still believe that
Dan was a big part of him getting here? And as far as Dan's role in how this new deal shaked out, I don't honestly think that Dan played that significant of a role in how the deal was ultimately completed. I know that, and Fletcher acknowledged this last night, that Eric Schaefer, their vice president of football administration, their cap guy, that's who Fletcher dealt with exclusively in negotiating this deal. Now, whether or not Dan was in Eric's ear to kind of say,
do this, do that.
Yeah, exactly. But when you look at how creatively this deal was structured, that has Eric
You're right.
Schaefer's
He couldn't have been a part of it.
Fingerprints all over it. So
you don't have to say any more. Well, what?
Wow.
Wait, you don't think we throw chin music around here?
We're going
That's what we're known for.
High and tight.
Brushback pitch.
I tell you what, we're going to take a quick timeout, and then we want to get into the latest on some of these labor negotiations, and things are heating back up again. We want to get your insight, J.I., and some of your knowledge on what is going on with that, and can we expect football in 2011, and are there any really major sticking points?
I still have a question about the contract.
We'll get that next.
Thank you.
On the John Riggins Show.